as I said, the one resolution for the evaluation of the teacher contract. I know that you're going to speak more to in the finance report, but we did have questions as well as you, and I believe that was resolved.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept this report and the recommendations coming from our program instruction committee?
Mr. Jackson. Second. Mr. Selder. It's a motion to accept the program instruction committee report. Moved by Mr. Jackson, second by Mr. Selder. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining? Okay. Motion carries.
We now have our report from our Finance and Operations Committee. Finance and Operations Committee met on Monday, August 18th. The meeting was called to order at 6:04 p.m. and a quorum was established with the following board members: Danica Matias, Rashawn Hassan, Donald Jackson, and Ariana Perello. Minutes from the June committee meeting were not available for approval. We immediately went into human resource reporting, and we were advised by district staff that 4 new titles have been created. These titles have been created to provide further support at the school level, and the new titles are teacher coach, data analyst, school operations assistant, and community engagement specialist, which is a 10-month title and a reclassification of the prior position, which was known in the district as a parent liaison. At this time, we have 384 vacancies that currently exist at the school level. Many of those vacancies are for non-instructional positions and are expected to be filled by the start of school. A request was made by Ms. Matias to include the start date of the position vacancies as additional information on the vacancy reports going forward. We're also advised that there are 15 principal vacancies that were filled. 8 were filled as new hires. 1 was an external candidate. 2 were from vice principal promotions, and 6 were from 6 of those positions were filled by principals who already held the administrative title within NPS. The remaining 7 vacancies were filled with 3 external candidates and 4 internal candidates. Update on the reduction of force. The committee was advised that approximately 164 civil service employees were laid off. Notifications were sent to impacted employees by the Civil Service Commission. District staff also advised that impacted employees will receive support and have been advised to apply for other vacancies within the district. Committee then went into facilities reporting, and the facilities team reported that a total of 16 SBA-funded emerging projects have been approved as of August 1st, 2014. The total estimated cost of the approved projects is $36.84 million. 3 projects at Dayton Street, Madison Avenue, and Hawthorne Avenue schools have been placed on hold by the SBA. And the district has requested that these projects be substituted by emergent project requests from Cleveland, Rafael Hernandez, and George Washington Carver. The projected cost of these projects is approximately $4.4 million. Mr. Keith Barton provided a corrective action plan for energy efficiency that was requested by the committee during the June committee meeting. Initial findings from an energy audit conducted last summer highlighted deficiencies at Science Park High School, and the report indicated that older NPS facilities were operating more efficiently than our newer facilities such as Science Park High. The corrective action plan seeks to correct the inefficiencies that were identified. Discussion was also held regarding the repair of NPS swimming pools and the decision to close them during the summer months. It was also noted that the chlorinator was broken at Science Park. However, repairs are being conducted and the pool will be repaired for the start of school. Financial items. Dr. Caleb Perkins attended the meeting along with Program Instruction Chair Danica Matias and Vice Chair Donald Jackson, the vet purchasing items for professional development and curriculum. Item P7, solicitation number 8371, was discussed in detail, and this is a resolution which shows the district's availability of funds in the amount required to complete a full analysis of the NTU NPS contract to determine the effectiveness of the current contract. During our discussion, we were advised that the funding source will be philanthropic dollars, which shall be secured by the district, and that this particular solicitation shall not be funded from the NPS budget. The resolution was referred back to legal for rewording and has been presented tonight in draft form to the entire board, and should be included in the board packet that you have. The resolution for the approval of the 2014-2015 budget is simply a resolution to accept the cap for travel expenses and professional expenditures. This resolution is a statutory requirement and does not denote an approval by the board to accept the actual 2014-2015 budget. The supporting documents provided in board members' package shows the account code and line items for each of these expenditures. Community eligibility option. These are some of the open discussion items that were on the table at last night's meeting. Free lunch will be provided for all high school students as part of this community eligibility option initiative. Humanitarian meals are already provided to students in grades pre-K through 8. So in the event that a student does not have funding to pay for their meals, the district does already provide humanitarian meals for students from grades pre-K through 8. Camp Timberlake, there was some issues and concerns with Camp Timberlake and the district sending football players from the NPS high schools to attend camp this summer. Just in updating the community, all of our students who were eligible and signed up were able to attend this camp. However, during the process, the district uncovered some issues or concerns that were in the contract. The district did work with the owners of Camp Timberlake to address those concerns. The district is looking to provide other alternatives for the football camp. It has been recommended to the superintendent and staff members that if these football summer camps are to be held locally, that the district works to develop a summer academy for athletes to help ensure that all NPS athletes are fully eligible for college scholarships. We also held discussion regarding charter leases. The discussion covered details of the leases such as length of lease, NPS requirements, the cost per lease, and terms of renewal. No NPS facilities are being sold, and the leases are in the final stage of execution at this point. Board members, obviously those who are not in committee meetings, have opportunities to ask any additional questions this evening. So ends my report from the Finance and Operations Committee. There were no sense of unreadiness from the members who attended the meeting yesterday, and based on feedback and discussion from those members, we come forward with a recommendation that all purchasing items be approved as presented in our packet, pending the modifications for item P7, solicitation number 8371, which has been provided to each board member in their package this evening.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
First I want to address the football camp situation.
Is this a question?
Yes. What was the reasons that the district did besides the contract? What was the issues in the contract, or why the district wanted to was considering not sending the students to the camp this year?
First, there were a couple of liability issues. One being that in that contract, they held the district liable for certain things that were out of the district's control. As an example, if the students, when they attend this camp, they stay in cabins. If something happened to one of those cabins, I'm just saying hypothetically, the cabin collapsed, the camp wouldn't be liable for that. The district would actually hold the liability. If a staff member from Camp Timberlake assaulted one of our students while attending that camp, they wouldn't be liable under the contract that was originally signed. The district would in fact be held liable. Lastly, if the district paid to have 300 students attend the football camp but only 200 students showed up, the district wouldn't get reimbursed for those 100 students that didn't show.
Were these conditions already in the contract? Because as far as I can remember, this is a tradition in no public schools with student football players. And traditionally going to camp. So I understand why all these years this been going on all of a sudden now.
So I think you had the same question that many board members have and district staff members have. There's clearly an issue with the process because, from my understanding, the former employee who signed the contract was not authorized to sign that contract on behalf of the district. I think that's the first issue. Second issue is that as a board, we never saw any resolution come across to us as board members. We never reviewed the contract. We never authorized it. We never voted on it either. So I think that had that process been followed, you know, I can say from our perspective as board members, I'm sure we would have done our due diligence to thoroughly review that contract and any resolution that was provided, but one wasn't provided to us because someone who didn't have authority to sign the contract signed it.
Was it just this year or it's every year?
This is, from my understanding, this is something that had gone on for a few years. This is just now something that was put this time around.
So, my issue, what I'm trying to figure out is, this administration have been in charge for the last 4 years. So it took 4 years for us to try, you know, now to see that there's an issue with the contract that been in place standard traditionally. This is one of the only, well, I'm concerned because this is one of the only activities we have where we send our students away to really a safe haven to enjoy themselves, to get prepared for this season. And now I feel as though it's an attack on traditional standards that this district have had for years. As an alumni, I feel offended that the district is even trying to attack a program such as this that is beneficial to our children.
So I think we all share the same sentiments and concerns about that. You just shared that you're an alumni and also a former football player at Westside. Myself being a former football player, Malcolm X Shabazz, and someone who actually attended this camp all 4 years during my high school tenure. Because of that, I understand the value of attending that camp and what kind of impact it has on our young males in the community. We first heard about it. I immediately wrote a letter to the superintendent, other staff members, got on the phone with them immediately to find out what issues arose as a part of that process. We immediately started to discuss what we needed to do to make sure that our students were able to go. I think overall that occurred. We made sure that happened. I think also from a district standpoint and as board members, we have to make sure that we're not entering into contracts. We just expose ourselves to those kind of liabilities. I think especially now that we're in a position as board members when local control and area fiscal management has returned to us. I don't think going forward that we're going to have room to say the district dropped the ball or the district do X, Y, and Z. We got to make sure that going forward we manage that process. We know what the issues are now, and we may have to make sure we continue those discussions throughout the year, and that is not something that just pops up in July, a month before the students are scheduled to go to camp. So while there was some negatives at the beginning of it, I think that overall we accomplished the goal to make sure that the students got to camp, and now we know what we need to do going forward to make sure that we don't have those kind of liabilities present if we enter into any kind of contracts like that going forward. So your points are well taken, Mr. Lewis, and I think that we'll be working with Ms. Matthias with program instruction, and that committee will be working closely with Dr. Cook and his staff to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself in regards to these students.
Get out of here.
Also, from the reading of the report, we just laid off over 100 and something staff members in the district. Few fired and actually escorted out of our buildings by this administration.
Please sound order, please, while the board member Lewis is making his comments.
Some folks who have worked harder than anybody in this administration on behalf of the children in the city. It was humiliated by being escorted out of district buildings, ordered by this administration. But yet, I see 4 new positions being created under this administration. Teacher coach. What is that? I'm a teacher, but I need to be coached. School operation assistant. What is our vice principals? Our vice principals help deal with operations.
So,
Evaluation.
Mr. Lewis,
Hold on,
no, I got you. You're asking the question, so We do have Ms. Vanessa Rodriguez here. I want to first say that in our community session yesterday, all of the 4 new hires, these 4 new positions, we did request the job descriptions. Could we please have order here?
You got order.
We listening to you. Go ahead, Ms. Rodriguez, say no.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board chair, members of the board. Let me remind the community and the board of the appropriate decorum protocols we established for these public meetings. There will be 2 verbal warnings for disruption, which will come from me.
Good.
And after the second warning,
Good.
we will have to make some endeavor to bring the meeting back to order.
What time is the meeting over so I can tell?
Ms. Goff?
Yes. Which one is that?
First, I do want to provide some overview regarding the layoffs and RIFs, which I think is important. As everyone on the board is aware, we did provide ongoing updates to this body about our efforts to get that number as small as possible because we do realize the difficulty that poses. So I want to remind the board that at various points in the process there were between 500 and 700 positions that were in question. And what we tried to do is align our vacancies and the amount of attrition necessary so that we got that number down quite a bit. So that was something we took great pains to do, knowing that, of course, these things were very difficult. The other thing Ms. Rodriguez and her team did is met with each and every team multiple times over the summer to provide them with any impacted individual with updated information, also the new positions that might be posted. So I just do want to communicate that we did work very hard. Never is easy for this to occur, but I have to enter into the record that we did take great care to treat individuals with compassion and to go above and beyond in terms of communication and support. So I want to make sure that that is clearly communicated. As for the new positions, Vanessa can feel free to jump in, but just roughly, quickly to flag the positions that have been posted. The community engagement specialist position is one that we are very much encouraging some individuals to apply for. The teacher coach position is quite common. It exists in many districts, including all over New Jersey, and is frankly necessary vis-a-vis the Common Core. The school operations manager role is another recommended position because of PARC. PARC is the new assessment that is online and will require a whole other level of operational support in order for us to accomplish the goal. And the data assistant is also part of that broader PARC readiness. I think this body has been briefed on the needs of PARC and the demands of PARC, which is the new assessment, and many of these roles are indeed being endeavored in many districts so that we are in compliance with the PARC ready.
I just want to point out, I never went to school to become a teacher, but nor do I claim to know how to operate a school building or a district. But as a student, when you explain that, it's common sense. Talk about community engagement specialists, that's our parent liaisons, been doing the job for years. Talk about school operations assistant, that's our vice principals who've been doing the job for years. Talk about teacher coach, you're talking about department chairs who've been doing the job for years.
Mr. Lewis, is there a question I just want to ask?
It's my time.
No, it's
my time.
Mr. Lewis, if you have a question to ask, please ask the question.
I'm right for my time. My time is valuable. So,
You gotta understand it.
what I'm saying is basically, all I see is
Change your title.
process of getting rid of the unions.
Right?
Removing
Amen.
the union titles.
might
So
be
it's
my
all
number
about
one.
getting rid of unions and about educating our children. And that's common sense. So I don't understand how we can lay off people
Did hire
And then hire
more
more
people.
And we have a budget deficit.
Tell them about
We
that.
shouldn't be hiring nobody. We should have a freeze. We should be working with what we have to operate our buildings, to educate our children. And that's common sense, right? Everybody, all y'all got them degrees and letters behind your names.
We got
We're
common
talking about
sense.
common sense right now. Common sense is the bottom line. We're supposed to be talking about educating the children in the city of Newark. What we see is about getting rid of unions,
Yeah?
bringing more
Mr.
common sense.
Mohammed,
It's more
excuse me,
about
Mr.
corporations
Lewis.
than
Excuse
about
me.
educating our children.
Thank you.
Ms. Mohammed, that's
Yes.
your first verbal warning.
I'm okay with it, Ms. Wilson.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from any board members? I think I saw Ms. Basco Richardson.
Yes, on two issues. First, on P12, and you did address this, I did not, I didn't get it. So my question is, why will the disparity study be limited to just 2014, 2015? And not, I'm sorry.
That question was, it was asked last night in the committee, so I want to give you an opportunity if you want to ask it again for
Okay,
everybody.
yeah, okay. And the reason I'm asking that is because initially I remember Mr. Kinney had asked for the disparity study, you know, over the last few years, and it seems that the 2014, 2015 is, at least, you know, in my vision, not a broad enough scope to really be able to assess how where the district is.
Good afternoon, Ms. Basco. The disparity study, as evidenced in P12, will cover a period of September 2014 through August 2015. That is not the scope or the period of time over which the disparity will be investigated. It is the length and duration of the actual work. So we will go back several years to look at where the disparities occur, and we should anticipate a report from the awarded vendor, in this case, Collette Holt and Associates, but they will have a year period during which they will do the work.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And so,
One last point for that, the vendor will also have to come before the board to make a presentation prior to the actual study being conducted. So that's a full presentation in terms of scope of work, what they look to do, what they plan to uncover. That's going to be presented to the board in full, and we will get additional information in terms of what that date will be.
In addition, the vendor will also come back before the board at the completion of the study to report the results and recommendations.
thank you. And my other question, and I do have to preface it, but I do have questions. It has to do with the fact that there are charter schools now in session in the Newark Public Schools, and historically, the board had been presented lease agreements. We had spent a lot of discussion and debate over those lease agreements in past years, and this year we were not presented lease agreements. So, and as a matter of fact, I would venture to say that if I hadn't posed the question, that we might not even be discussing it now. I could be wrong about that. But so my question then is, right now, since we have charter schools in the district in session, is the district absorbing the cost of those charter schools, since there's nothing in writing right now? And what is the plan in place for those charter schools? I appreciate, President Hassan, that you're saying that we will get something soon, but because we're almost up to the time for school to start, and we do already have charter schools in session, we need to know how soon we will have those lease agreements. And I don't mean to point fingers, but it just seems to me there's just very difficult to believe that it was just an oversight, because so much time was spent on this and so much attention given to this in the past. And are there any liabilities that the district may have by having these charter schools in session without having anything in writing?
Wow.
Thank you.
first let me address the process point. The process for actually putting out an RFI, interest in the buildings, is something that we had shared previously was our intent, given that the district has more inventory than we have need for. When we received information from the state, which was a surprise to us, regarding the notion, when we went through the process of 18th Avenue, part of what you and others pushed, among other things, was how we were going to utilize those resources to reinvest in NPS. At the end of last school year, I don't remember exactly when, we received a letter from the state saying that the $4.5 million that we had received as income was in fact clawed back by the state. That was news to us and was shocking and unacceptable to the district. We felt that one of the important processes regarding any RFI of buildings should be taking those resources and reinvesting them in NPS. Once that became clear to us, we changed gears and began to engage in lease conversations, but it was later than we wanted to, because we had intended to go through an RFI process regarding people's interest in actually purchasing the buildings. The purchase piece would allow us to reinvest, would allow us to get rid of our liabilities, it would allow us to have limited exposure, and we were frustrated, and I wrote formal documentation on this that revenue was not realized by NPS, which caused us to have to change course. That is in part what truncated the timeline, and so I just wanted to make sure that context was known. As far as the lease communication and the liabilities therein, the long-term leases that we had in place with most of the charters prior to any of the current pieces were in place, and some short-term agreements were put in place once we had to change gears on the RFI. As far as the terms of the leases, we, I believe, shared them at the Finance Committee, and we, I believe we also, yeah, go ahead. So just, I just wanted to give the additional context about the timing, which was relevant, and it is something that we formally documented to the state that we thought was unfair and unacceptable and was news to us late in the year.
Excuse me, Ms. Stock, this is your first verbal warning. Okay, the timeline associated with the leases is that they are currently with the Department of Ed for review, and we anticipate a response from the state in late August. And late August and early September, we plan to execute those leases. There are several different types of leases that we will be looking to articulate. As the superintendent indicated, many of the leases, the pre-existing leases were still in place, and I'm trying to think, I don't think we have any new tenants. They're all charters who've had leases with us already. It may be that they've expanded their lease to occupy the entire building where there was a co-location, and I think there are, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, there are two of those, Madison and Burnett Street. And we have certain terms built into the lease, very similar, Ms. Baskerville, I knew you were here at that time and on the board, very similar to the lease terms that we had before, with an increase built in over a period of time. Leases, and there has been further clarification regarding services, etc. Am I missing anything?
Forgot Bragaw Avenue School.
Yeah, Bragaw is another one, thank you.